Hi everyone, my name is Michelle. Everybody calls me Teacher M. I am the founder of an English boutique studio based in Singapore, and I'm very happy to be here again to share with you a tip or two on how to craft a really good composition. So, some of you may be a little bit scared by writing compositions. It may seem a little bit too challenging for you, but I always tell all my students that writing starts somewhere. Okay, as long as you're willing to pick up a pen and give it a shot, I'm very sure you will see improvement. Okay, so today I would like to focus on writing or crafting effective dialogue. I'm very sure that if you were to pick up any novel around you, you would come across a lot of dialogue written into the story by the author. Okay, so I'm very sure as well you have been somewhat inspired by that, and you would like to include some dialogue into your own stories as well. So how do we do that? Let me just quickly share my screen with you. All right, here we are. Okay. So when it comes to writing dialogue, there's just a couple of things that you may want to take note of. First of all, you may certainly start your story with a dialogue. However, it's very important to make sure that it is a very impactful dialogue that you start with. Make sure that that dialogue serves as a hook. Okay, so you do not want to start with, for example, "Oh, what a boring day it is," because using that as the first line for your story is actually tremendously boring as well, and you don't want that. So a more exciting and more impactful dialogue would be, for example, "I hate you," he uttered angrily, folding his arms across his chest. Something like that would be much more interesting and impactful. Why? Because as a reader, you'll be wondering, okay, why is this person hating another person? Who is he hating? Why is he so angry? What's the backstory? Okay, so that will be a great hook. Another thing is that when you introduce a new dialogue, what I always recommend is to start a new paragraph with that new dialogue. Okay, and one more thing that I do see a lot of children having trouble with, and that's having the right punctuation when writing dialogue. Okay, so it's very important to make sure you get that right first before you even think about including a lot of dialogue into your story, because you certainly do not want to be, having really good creative dialogue, but be penalized by the composition marker because of your poor use of punctuation. Okay, next thing is that said is dead. You may or may not have heard that in school. Okay, what does it mean? Basically, the word said. It's not wrong to use it. You would definitely see it a lot in novels. Okay, but given you're writing a very short story, it may be more impactful and more, more interesting for your reader if you vary the use of that speech tag. Okay, so replace a speech tag said with other words that are more imaginative, that are more varied. We'll go through a little bit more about that later. The next thing that I would like to cover would be, okay, let me just make it a bit bigger so it's clearer for you. Okay, here is what I call a monologue, and it's called an internal monologue. So basically, this person may not be saying it out loud. It's a bit weird when a character speaks out loud to nobody. Okay, so it's an internal, conversation thing that a character may have. When may a character have a conversation like that in his or her head? It's when the person has got an inner battle. Okay, maybe he or she is presented with a very difficult decision and he or she finds it very hard to make a choice. It could be, for example, something quite that you may have written about before in your own writing. The character finds a wallet on the floor, and he picks it up and goes, okay. On one hand, there's a lot of money inside, and that money can really come into good use. On the other hand, my mother has always told me that doing that would be wrong. So that could lead to an internal monologue. Okay, and the next thing is that it's very important to keep your dialogue brief. So brief means it's short. Okay, I know some of you get so excited. You may go on and on for your dialogue, but never do that. Think about it before you actually start the dialogue. Okay, make sure that your dialogue is value adding. It really moves your plot forward. So don't do anything that's too long. Okay, next thing is that always avoid small talk. Okay, what is small talk would be, an example would be, for example, if you meet somebody on the street, somebody you haven't met in a while, and you go, oh, hi, Mary. And then Mary goes, oh, hi, John, how are you? And then you go on, this very useless banter about what the person has been up to, how the person has been. So all of that actually can be entirely left out in your story because it hardly moves the story forward. You don't need that. Given the time limit that you have for your composition writing, you want to avoid all useless exchanges at all costs. Okay? The next thing that's quite interesting to note is that dialogue really helps you to mold your character. Okay, and what does it mean? It means that you can use dialogue to shape your character. So you're using dialogue to show your reader what kind of person this particular character is. For example, if you have like this a parent in your character who's really nasty, he doesn't give two hoots about his children's welfare, the children's feelings and stuff like that. You can use dialogue to show that instead of just saying and telling your reader the father was not a good one. That hardly says anything. But if you can use dialogue to show how the father is not a good one, you can say, for example, maybe this is the child comes back home and very excitedly wants to show the father a good grade that he or she had received in school and a test. But the father just goes, oh, just leave me alone. I'm too busy for that. For example, right? That kind of dialogue is impactful because it really tells the reader, okay, this father is really not quite a great one. And it shows through the dialogue. Okay. And of course, the next thing is that dialogue can really help to convey emotions that your characters are feeling at whatever point in time in your story. Okay, sometimes your emotions, the emotion experienced by the character could be positive, happy, excited, relieved. On the other hand, the emotion experienced by the character could be negative, upset, disappointed, furious. Okay, you can use dialogue very, very well and very effectively. You can use it to convey that. So, for example, if the character is, excited about to, he or she's about to be taken on a trip to Universal Studios for the very first time, you can use dialogue to show that. You can go, little Mary very excitedly squealed, hugging her backpack close to her chest. That you use the dialogue. I can't wait to get there. Something like that would be an impactful dialogue too. Okay. Okay, and now moving over here, I would like to teach you how to have different kinds of speech tags depending on the emotion. So of course, you guys should know what emotions are, different feelings, right? So like we mentioned earlier, there are positive emotions and negative emotions. The speech tag that you pick should match up with the emotion that your character's feeling. So for example, if we have a character who's relieved, so your character is very likely to feel relieved, maybe at the end of a very awful traumatic accident. Okay, and maybe you can say that the man sighed. This one sighed audibly, and then feeling his the tension in his shoulders disappear. I am so glad that is over. Something like that would be a good use of a different kind of speech tag. So same goes for delight. Okay, you can take a look at the ones over here. Feel free to do a screenshot of this page. Okay, and same for excitement and love, adoration. Okay, and the next part comes in. How do we then turn it into a proper sentence in your writing? Okay, so let's take a look here. I've got two examples. The first one, I'll read it to you first. Dwelling snapped impatiently, with her arms folded across her chest. I am not budging. Okay, so I want you to see what I've done here. I have broken that very simple sentence into one, two, three, four parts. Okay, you can see that according to the color. Okay, snapped would be a speech tag, an example of a speech tag that you can use. So clearly, Jerling's upset. He's a bit bratty, maybe he's angry, impatient. Okay, then you follow snapped with an adverb. What is an adverb here? An adverb well describes the way she's snapping. She's snapping impatiently. And then you follow it, okay? Make sure you have your commas here, okay? With an action. So whatever action that this character Jueling is doing at that point in time when she's talking, you put it here. And then you follow it with the dialogue, what she's saying, okay? So that will be a perfect example of how you can write an effective dialogue. Okay, and then let's take a look at example number 2. Chloe gushed, speech tag, endearingly, adverb, with her arms outstretched, the action at that moment. Oh, what a cute little thing you are. That's the dialogue that she's saying. Okay, so of course for the ones who have gotten, all these, you know that you need to have a speech tag, adverb, action, dialogue. What you can do, of course, is you don't need to follow the sequence of a T. You can move it around. You can put, for example, action at the start. You can start with here, this one. With her arms folded across her chest, comma, Jueling snapped impatiently, comma, open inverted commas. I am not budging, exclamation mark, close inverted commas. Okay, all right, so have fun with that. You can always pause the video for a second and grab a sheet of paper and practice doing exactly what I've just done here for you on your own. Okay? All right, welcome back after your practice. I'm going to read a suggested response over here. It was written by a couple of students in my class, and I thought it was pretty impressive because the children were able to weave a few pieces of dialogue into the story, okay, and they were able to apply technique that they learned previously. Okay, let's start. Me? Really? After all these years, I get to be part of a real family? John blurted quickly to the headmaster of the orphanage, whose walls and walkways he had grown way too accustomed to over the first 10 years of his life. Even his name was a thoughtlessly picked one. Clearly, it had no hint of uniqueness to it. John had never experienced familial love, and that day he was chosen. He was chosen out of a throbbing, heaving mass of other orphans. That's right, John. Lady Charlieston is waiting for you outside in the courtyard, the headmaster replied tenderly, with his eyes shining with happiness for the little boy whom he had watched grow up. John sprang from his seat, his bottom practically flying off the cushion. He spun around briefly, yelling gratefully, "Thank you, headmaster, thank you." His steps slowed to a halt when he came face to face with the lady seated on a bench next to the vegetable patch in the courtyard. He took her in. She was a tall, elegantly attired lady with the face of an angel. She had porcelain-like skin that glowed under the sunlight, and a thin pair of glasses hung around her slender neck on a beaded necklace. Okay, so I hope you can see that apart from the two parts in green, there is one more here actually, all right, that has got a really good use of dialogue writing. Okay, I hope that has come in useful for you and do enjoy writing. Bye-bye.